Thank you for having me here. I'll be talking about something completely different to what we've been talking about today. But I've come to realize that you're actually the answer to what I will going to talk about. So I'm really, really grateful to stand in front of you to talk about this topic. I've searched a lot on the topic, and 99.999, which is a relevant figure for all of you, of the information is legal stuff. So it'll be a challenge for me to turn that into something which is relevant for you. But safe harbor and GDPR, I'm going to touch upon. But as I said, I've realized that you are the ones that sits with the actual answers. My background is from the large service providers. So I worked with local companies like Modulet. I worked with Logica. I worked with HP, HCL, and TCS, who are large global Indian companies, and with locals like Every. And I've been working with similar challenges like the ones we're talking about when we talk about safe harbor. You are probably know a lot of the safe harbor challenges, since you're heavy users of the internet and the challenge of personal data that comes along with safe harbor. Today I'm with Digiplex, which is basically providing data centers, and a lot of you are carrier providers with us, and we hope that we will have Netnod with us soon as well. But all of these names that I have on this slide, together with the companies, comes with similar challenges as safe harbor and GDPR. These are financial services sector, bank, insurance. We're talking about Payment Service Directive, SEPA, which is payment related, EMIR and MiFID, which is more bank related as Basel, solvency, which is for insurance companies. All of this comes with challenges. And in general, you are the last to know about the problem or the challenges, but probably the first to understand the challenges. Safe harbor was created back in 2000, and with the reason to have exchange of information between Europe and US. And that was ended in October 2015. Challenges being that we come with totally different backgrounds on information, how to handle information. In US, you had to give consent for us to collect information, but in Europe, we took for granted that for the good of people, we'll use information and be responsible about the information. You probably all remember with Facebook, you could not delete information once it was put on Facebook. But given these new rules and regulations, we now have the EU Privacy Shield in place since July, and we will get the GDPR by May 2018. That gives a lot of responsibility to anyone who handles information, and a lot of rights on us as individuals to know that who is handling that information, what are they going to do about my information. So the ownership of the information is mine, and I have the right to see what you store, and you are responsible to make sure it's encrypted, and you should be able to present a report to me. It's really now that you need to start to understand and do things about this. The challenge is that the driver of the 4% penalty, it's 4% of the annual turnover of a company can be a penalty for your company. And for the large global corporations of today, that's massive amount of money. If you're not the corporation, it's still a 20 billion euro fine that could be implemented. So it's huge cost if you're not complying with these regulations. There are a lot of opportunities, of course, for security company and companies that understand how do we solve and support this for you and your customers. Another challenge is that from a marketing point of view, from the market departments, you need to understand that everyone needs to give their consent to that you're taking care of the data. So you need to give your active consent to everyone, to anyone who wants to keep your data. And they need to be able to tell you what are you storing, and it needs to be encrypted. Encryption by default is a very critical thing. So it comes back to security, both physical and logical security. But this probably, in my eyes, what I've heard today is your game. You know how to make this happen. Next challenge for anyone who's keeping this information is actually to be able to present the information back. So anyone who asks, what kind of information do you have on me? You need to be able to present that back. So you need to keep those records of what you store from a personal data point of view. And so how you store it and how you present it back becomes really, really key. And how you're sending information as well. The encryption by default means that you're not allowed to have information available or sent that can be accessed by anyone. So you need to be able to be certain that you're keeping the information secret. So how? This is really a question I should throw back to you, because what I've heard today, this is something that you will be able to respond to. So how we're sure the customer consent part is probably a business process thing. So you will have business processes to be responsible for this. But the encryption part, that is something that you will probably figure out how to solve. Where are this information stored? How is it secured? It's absolutely key topics to really take care of this question. And as most of you know, security, specifically in Sweden, we want to avoid problems. So that is really attractive to customers from the Nordics. And secure services, sure to sell. So wherever you can support this GDPR, that will be really, really helpful for your business going forward. So from my point of view, from our industry, it comes from, so you need to start at the bottom, which is really where do you physically keep your information? How do you make sure that it's a physical, safe place? Your network, how are you sure that no one can get into your network? Because intrusion and the responsibility changes dramatically with these rules. So if you've had an intrusion and someone may have got hold of records of personal data, you need to report that back to anyone who may have been affected. And this is a huge reputational risk if you're a bank, for instance, or anyone else who keeps a lot of data, a lot of information, that you're suddenly obliged, you have to report back in the open public that I have got this criminal activity in my domains. this needs to be publicly available. So it's that's a huge reputational risk for anyone. Then you have, of course, the storage, the application layer. You need to secure the application layer and make sure that development is made secure and that you cannot access information in the wrong ways. And the business processes, how do you make sure that you capture the information in the right way? The starting point is always the other way around. So legal procedures, that's what's happening now. 99.999% of the information only regards the legal aspects. Then comes the business processes and down to wherever. But where you actually can start today, because you will be the last to know, that is where, how do you make sure that all the information are encrypted, tokenized, or whatever number of ways you know of to make sure that this information is encrypted, sent properly, sent secure, and you're able to store that information without other entities being able to access that information. And to make up for time and make sure that you stay awake and get coffee, I'm finished here. So ahead of you.
Hello, Michael Abrahamson. So, who's responsible for this? Can the individual employee be liable if they report this to higher up in the management chain and then nothing happens?
The owner of this is, of course, the CEO. Okay. So the CEO, CFO, because they carry the risk. The board of the company is also, so the responsibility lies with the senior management.
So there is no requirement for individuals to report this. It is actually a corporate responsibility, and then it's the CEO.
The pain comes for the stick goes towards the company and their actual turnover. So the cost will be carried by the company. But any individual, well, yeah, there's a huge risk for the company. So if you identify that risk, you better share that knowledge with management.
Yes. So I think in here we're all on the floor. But if we report this towards management and they do nothing, they don't report this, there is no liability with the individuals here who are actually working at the company?
No.
Okay.
Well, thank you.